Hello, beautiful souls. Thank you so very much for dropping by this video. Hello, hello, hello. Long time no. I've been doing really well. I've been doing a lot of kirtan, bhakti yoga, a lot of addiction recovery work. Had a really good 2.5 months. And I've kind of not so much been focusing on Neo-Advaita, been focusing more just on living life, which of course is a great way to recover from Neo-Advaita, is to not think about it and focus on life. And time for a little more deconstruction. And, part of why I make these videos is it's therapeutic for me, because my understanding of Neo-Advaita is it's this complex, intricate web, and making these videos helps me undo some of that web within me. So I got a very strange comment from a discussion. Someone misquoted me about Ramana Maharshi, something I said, which I didn't say. And then they posted some like, here's what Ramana actually taught. And it's very strange because I didn't say what they said. But anyway, but it brings up an amazing topic. And that's, what did Ramana Maharshi teach about prayer? So it's a cool topic because, first of all, it just blows the Neo-Advaita nonsense out of the water. The whole Neo-Advaita nonsense is basically one of two messages: either just practice self-inquiry, or you're already enlightened, so there's nothing to do. That's, in my view, the essence of what Neo-Advaita teaches. And Ramana's teachings on prayer show that that's just absolute nonsense. So I'm going to read a couple of quotes of Ramana's about prayer. This is from a great book called Bhakti Marga and Yoga Marga, which talks about Ramana's teachings on topics other than self-inquiry. So here's the first one. There are two ways. One is looking into the source of I and merging into that source. The other is feeling I am helpless by myself. God alone is all powerful, and except by throwing myself completely on him, there is no means of safety for me. By this method, one gradually develops the conviction that God alone exists and the ego does not count. Both methods lead to the same goal. Hello. So here's a secondary method that, and by the way, welcome to my live viewers. Please feel free to put in any comments or questions. I'm having such a bad hair day. Maybe it's the angle of the, that is just the worst hair ever. So my apologies for that. But yeah, feel free to put any comments, questions, feedback. Please be gentle with comments about my hair, but I think I can take it. So the first method we've all heard about, self-inquiry, but here's another method which Neo-Advaita teachers not only don't teach, but they would criticize such a method. Here it is. The other is feeling I am helpless by myself. God alone is all powerful. And except or only by throwing myself completely on him, another version I've heard is at his feet, there is no other means of safety for me. So that's called the path of surrender. Ramana taught it. He said it works. Just talk about a shocker. Like Neo-Advaita doesn't teach that. They certainly would criticize. If you went up to a Neo-Advaita teacher and said, right now I'm developing, and you could even quote Ramana. This would be really funny, actually. Go to a Neo-Advaita satsang and go to the teacher and say, and you can memorize it. We should do this as an experiment, and please let me know how it goes. Memorize Ramana exact words and go to the Neo-Advaita satsang teacher and say, I am developing the attitude and the feeling. I am helpless by myself. God alone is all powerful. And except by throwing myself completely on him or at his feet, there is no other means of safety for me. And see how the Neo-Advaita teacher reacts. That would be very comical. Please let me know how it goes. Here's another quote from Ramana. Surrender is complete, and only when you reach the stage, thou art all, that's the more self-inquiry path, and thy will be done. That's the bhakti path, or the surrender path. Here's another quote on Ramana by surrender. Well, before I get to that, Bharat Beta has tried other teachings and he is now gone to traditional Advaita Vedanta. Good on ya. Good on you, brother or sister. I assume you're a brother. Studying with traditional Advaita teachers was very helpful for me. I personally came to the conclusion that Advaita is not the path for me personally. And studying with traditional Advaita teachers was profoundly healing and helped me break out of Neo-Advaita. And by the way, I would say that in my view, Neo-Advaita teachers aren't actually teachers. They're pretend teachers. So just a little nitpick, but very significant to remind myself, oh, these people aren't actually teachers. They're more like show people. Oh, cool, brother from the UK. Here's another quote of Ramana. Hey, Baz, cool, Baz, thanks. Here's another quote from Ramana on surrender. If you have surrendered, you must be able to abide by the will of God and not make a grievance of what may not please you. Things may turn out differently from what they look apparently. Distress often leads men to faith in God. What another amazing quote. Idea on the path of surrender, meaning whatever happens, you accept it as the will of God. That's according to Ramana, it's a valid path. Here's a quote that Neo-Advaita teachers hate. Bhakti, devotion, vichara, inquiry, japa, repetition of mantra, are only different forms of our efforts to keep out the unreality. The unreality is an obsession at present. Reality is our true nature. We are wrongly persisting in unreality. That is thoughts and worldly activities. Bhakti, devotion, vichara, inquiry, japa, mantra, are only different forms of our efforts to keep out unreality. Meaning, they're all just various paths, each one of them valid. There's one other quote I would like to try and read. But actually, the other thing that's on my mind is, Ramana taught contradictory things because he wasn't a teacher. He would talk to individuals. To one person, he would say one thing. To another person, he would say another. And so this is what has created the Neo-Advaita circus, is Neo-Advaita teachers will take what they like, and then they'll take one thing that they like, and then they'll throw out what they don't like. For example, I can't find the direct quote, but Ramana once said, prayer is a powerful preparatory practice. You pray for what you need. In doing so, you start to think about God. Over time, you feel closer to God. And then at a certain point, you don't desire things, you just desire closeness with God. So to one person, he said, prayer is absolutely a valid and helpful path. Like, do it. It will lead you in a good direction. Now I'm going to send you guys, I'm going to put it in the chat box. Here is a list of quotes of Ramana Maharshi on prayer. And there are different things he said to different people at different times, and they straight up contradict each other. I'll just read one. Still more, why do you pray? Because you are helpless. Should you parade your weaknesses in order to make him know it? Meaning, if you have a problem, like, why should you pray to God? Yet, to another person, he said, sure, go ahead and pray. It will lead you in the right direction. One moment. Well, you can take a look at some of those quotes, and it's amazing to see that Ramana would teach different things to different people. And, that's one of the problems with Neo-Advaita is they basically just cherry pick the things they like and throw out the things they don't like. Bez wrote, non-dual teachers are only explaining their experience. Advaita is, when you say non-dual teachers, Baz, are you talking about Neo-Advaita teachers, like the people I come on here and criticize, like Muji or Rupert Spira? So if you could just clarify, Advaita is a method taught and refined over thousands of years. The Swamis who teach. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure if you're referring to. Yeah, that's one of the. I wish I had the capacity. Oh, Neo-Advaita. Anything that a Neo-Advaita teacher says. I mean, it's not like everything they say is false, but for me, I consider it 95% delusional garbage. Anything that a Neo-Advaita teacher, and yes, they're definitely doing the best they can. And my view is that most Neo-Advaita teachers had a spiritual experience and then falsely concluded, oh, I'm enlightened now, or like, oh, this is it. And then from there, like, started to teach people. So my view is not that they're I wish I could bring you up. I don't have the capacity to have a live dialogue on YouTube, but you of course can respond in text. And yeah, but well, they're teaching from, I would say, an interpretation of an experience, an incorrect interpretation. Like, I'm enlightened, I can lead other people to enlighten. Like, yes, I think most of them have had spiritual experiences, like I have. Pretty much as soon as you start practicing any spiritual path, even if you start practicing Neo-Advaita, you're going to have spiritual experiences. But there's this delusion. Yes. Beautiful. I'll get to that in a moment. That's a beautiful point. So just to be really clear, when I say Neo-Advaita, I mean someone who is not a part of a tradition. Muji's a great example, Adyashanti, Rupert Spira, like those people who are not a part of a tradition and are just kind of doing things on their own. Whereas, yes, Ramakrishna, Chinmaya, Swami Dhyanananda, those are all those three teachers I have profound respect for, and their teaching that I've seen is, yes, just like rock solid, consistent. The other problem, and I actually learned this from a traditional Advaita Vedanta guru who is in Swami Dhyanananda's lineage, is that there's two things. There's kind of two types of teachings. There is the teaching of Advaita Vedanta, and there's something called Upadesha, which is specific individual teachings for an individual, which is, for example, this Advaita teacher recommended that I do Ayurveda, and she recommended that I do a specific puja. So there are individual teachers. Rupert Spira teaches Kashmir Shaivism. I disagree. Let's take a look here for a moment. So first of all, then the first question is, well, who's his guru? Rupert Spira doesn't have a guru. To call Rupert Spira's teaching Kashmir Shaivism just sounds absurd to me. I don't even know what to say. I mean, that sounds like an excuse for Rupert to have sex with his students and charge more money. I've never heard him quote any of the traditional tantric texts. Let's take a quick. Yeah, Rupert Spira, I consider him toxic. I consider his teaching toxic and evil. So, you can say what you want about him. So right here it says, so in Kashmir Shaivism, since it is a tantric tradition, a necessary prerequisite for trika, that's the practices, trika yogic practices, is tantric initiation or diksha. I don't think Rupert Spira has had no traditional diksha that he talks about, and he certainly doesn't pass that along. So the primary practice is 6 yogas, and Rupert doesn't teach any of them. Contemplation of the void, he teaches that. Contemplation of the body, he doesn't teach that. Contemplation of bindu, the drop, he doesn't teach that. Contemplation of phenomena, he says this world doesn't exist. Contemplation of the world, he says the world doesn't exist. Contemplation of resonance, yeah, I have no clue why you would say Rupert Spira teaches Kashmir Shaivism. That seems insane to me. Rupert Spira teaches Neo-Advaita, like he is one of the kings of Neo-Advaita. To boot, I mean, Rupert Spira just teaches that all of this is an illusion and a dream, and Kashmir Shaivism does not teach that at all. So very silly. Rupert Spira's teaching is closer to Kashmir. I mean, I just read to you the 6 forms of Kashmir Shaivism meditation, and he only teaches one of them. So I disagree. Like he has a little bit in common with Kashmir Shaivism because he teaches meditation on the void, but he also teaches there's nothing to do. He teaches don't do prerequisites. He teaches the world is an illusion. So again, I don't know, you're welcome to follow Rupert. You're welcome to think highly of him. But I consider his teaching very toxic. I mean, people have had straight up depersonalization and what's called derealization, where they lose all sense of, it's not a mystical state, it's a psychological breakdown. So, I mean, that's cool that he considers consciousness a vibration. Like, that's cool. But yeah, I mean, if I had to commit suicide or I had to dedicate my life to a Neo-Advaita teacher, like I'd commit suicide. Like Neo-Advaita is, in my experience and my view, toxic and evil. So you can follow or praise a Neo-Advaita teacher if you want. I wouldn't recommend it. Yeah, I mean, Rupert Spira. So Neo-Advaita teachers just make up their own thing. So earlier you were talking about, Bez, you were talking about people with a lineage. You named some teachers who I have deep respect for, and one of whom I've studied with someone in that lineage. And then you compare that with Rupert Spira, and it's just night and day. It's just like there's just no comparison. And so to even make a comparison, I consider, it's kind of dangerous because it's like, because Neo-Advaita is toxic. Like people have killed themselves from it, and people have gone crazy from it. And as you said, so in Advaita Vedanta, there's the fourfold preparatory practices before, none of which Rupert teaches. And in fact, Rupert poo-poos the preparatory practices. And that's what lead people to have psychological breakdowns with him. So no, he cannot. So I think that's all I have to share for today. Thanks for sharing your thoughts, Baz. And, I'm not trying to attack you personally, and I hope you didn't feel that. And it's just Neo-Advaita took me to the brink of suicide, and it took me to a very dark place. And I personally know people it has. People have reached out to me from around the world who it has. And then, of course, there's all the people I don't know who it's taken to a dark place. So, Baz, I had an online retreat with Rupert Spira, never again. And how much did that retreat cost you, by the way? Because let's be clear, Rupert Spira is not a teacher. He's a businessman. One person who came on this channel did some research, and they found out that Rupert Spira's net worth was like over $2 million or something. Like the dude is a businessman. Like, make no mistake about it. I mean, someone recent, a Rupert retreat someone posted about recently, it's like $100 to $200, and I don't know if that was an online or not, but then you get 1,000 people show up, or even 200 people, and that's a lot of money. I'm not saying you have to live in poverty, but any person who's teaching about liberation and who doesn't live a simple life, I won't even listen to them. Oh, Baz, please give us a ballpark of how much it cost. So, like Adyashanti, he lives in like $1 million plus house in Palo Alto. Like, I won't even listen to the guy. It's like, it's insane to me. I have enough insanity in here that I'm working through. I don't need insanity from other people who claim that they are teaching sanity. No thanks. Please, Baz, you have to let us know. I'm going to look it up right now, how much Rupert Spira's online retreats cost. I mean, I'm on the website now, and it's pretty. This guy is pretty. Okay. I'm just checking out. So I'm just looking right now. So he offers a webinar that is 2 hours, and that's very kind. He offers a sliding scale of $5 to $30. Yeah, that's not so bad. Let's take a look at some of the other things. Yeah, $100 for an online retreat, €100. So let's take a look at his 7-day retreat, 7-day in-person retreat. Anyway, you guys can look it up yourself. It's a very interesting topic. What I have to say to any Neo-Advaita teacher who charges money, I'd say you're not saved. Because if I was in a place where there was no suffering anymore, so basically, if you for those of us who have suffered, if you've suffered, intense existential suffering is like drowning in the ocean. That's both a teaching and a metaphor you'll hear from lots of classical teachings. And then, of course, in the classical teaching, we do this over and over and over again through reincarnation. So if I had made it out of the drowning, poisonous ocean of suffering, I would just spend all day, every day, trying to rescue other people. And that's what a true saint, a true teacher does. That's how Ramana Maharshi lived. He didn't really have a private life. He just did seva all the time. So yeah. Baz wrote, during a study group, I was told Rupert's teachers stem from Western philosophy and was told not to talk about Indian philosophy or metaphysics. Oh my God. That's hilarious. That's insane. Rupert's ideas stem from Western philosophy. Oh, just the rabbit hole. The plot thickens. Thank you, Bez, for your input. Once again, no ill feelings towards you. I just have no ill feelings towards Rupert Spira or Adyashanti, just their teachings. Baz. You're the first person to say it's like that's a lifetime. That, I feel like an achievement now. Like somebody binge watched my videos. Well, the interesting thing is you've got to watch me evolve. And I'm still evolving, still healing, still recovering. But if you binge watch most of my videos, you've gotten to see the journey I've gone on. So first of all, just thank you for witnessing the journey. Second of all, I'm grateful they've been helpful to you, or I assume they've been helpful. um, and third of all, I'm flattered. And it's almost like I feel like I could die now. Like somebody binge watched my videos. Like I'm this great achievement. Not literally, but thank you for saying that. That makes my day, and that inspires me to keep going. So it's been a while, but it was great dialoguing with you. Welcome to everyone who just joined. I'm just wrapping up now. Baz brought some really interesting points, some of which I vigorously agreed with and some of which I vigorously disagreed with. But I think we're both leaving with a smile. So if you want to see that dialogue, feel free to reload and watch this again. And I wish everyone a wonderful. Yeah. And here's the thing. I always feel like I'm done and there's more to say. So Baz wrote, yes, you're evolving, but you are purifying yourself. By that, I mean, you are able to self-reflect and laugh at yourself. See, one of the problems with Neo-Advaita is its quick fix enlightenment. When the long and short of it is the spiritual path is a process. Yes, sages report a moment when suffering ends, but up until that point, you're like in process and you're purifying yourself and you're on a path. And then even after that moment, I mean, you'd have to ask the sages, but I believe the path continues just with a different tenor. Oh, okay. Yeah, thanks, Baz. I mean, it made for some interesting content. That's one of the problems with not being able to have people up live. So yeah, Baz, thank you so much for your input. Thank you for your patience hanging in there with me. And thank you everyone for dropping by. Have a great day.